I was really little. I watched my brother's friends play, and like I got that rumbling sensation in my body where I thought, oh wow, this is like actually really, it was the listening excitement, but also like, what are they doing with these instruments? That's really cool. That's fun.
That's sweet. Yeah, some guy sold me this giant like Ampeg cabinet, and I remember having it in my house, and when my parents would go out, I would crank it up and it would make the whole house shake. It was, with sound, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. So I think that was maybe the moment when I was like, yeah, I mean, you want to just feel that energy all the time.
I think just probably my early teens when me and a group of friends, some guy, a good friend of ours, bought a drum kit, and so we all ran to his house, and when there was like 14 of us, and we just started jamming, covers and things, and it got whittled down to 3 of us, and we became a band, and that was that.
I think I like, there's different aspects of all of them. There's something about recording that's really challenging because you sort of, you're on a camera, or you're sort of trying to capture a moment, and you know that you're capturing that moment, which, with performing, like, yeah, you're capturing a moment for other people, but you're kind of just in the moment rather than trying to capture it. And so I don't know, I'm still working on my own, adrenaline rush and figuring out how to put that into recording, so I guess performing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say what I love about it is that you can do all of those things.
Yeah.
Whether it even be, printing t-shirts with your friends or writing like some song that kind of like blows you away. And,
yeah.
That's like really satisfying, or, kind of, putting on some performance that you're sort of proud of and you feel like people kind of really sort of connected with and felt, or even just like hearing some really insane sound that you never expect to hear, or, even watching some other band that blows you away. I think, all of those aspects of music are like so incredible and so great. It's cool to like be involved in something where, there's so many aspects of it that are awesome.
Yeah, I like doing it all too. It's like, it's kind of like exercising. If you're just swimming all the time, it gets kind of boring. But if you change it up
Speak
to
for
something
yourself.
else, kind of like, it changes it up. Recording to me and writing is definitely more challenging than playing live. But I would have to say playing live for me is probably the most rewarding because, like Leah said, it's just like the energy, the being in the moment. Where the recording's a little bit more kind of planned out in some ways. It can be off the cuff too, but live is just a bit more, I don't know, kind of inside this thing. It's, yeah.
You can't ever really like have a sort of set of rules for any of that stuff, and sometimes when you're walking down the street you'll come up with this thought of an idea for a song that's so great, and you'll go try to make it happen. It can be really difficult, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you'll just take some bit of some kind of inspiration of something that you've done, and it kind of leads you down this other trail of something else that's incredible. We even have been doing this thing a lot where we'll try to kind of like improvise in the crowd, where we'll just sort of like try to write music right on the spot. And every once in a while, like there's something that you're in this really like make or break moment where you've got to make something really incredible happen, or you've got to, if it's not going good, you want people to be having this really cool moment of a show, and you know that it's possible to happen, so you've got to quickly turn into some place that's really awesome and incredible. So if it's not good, you got to like do whatever it is that you think is like, the worst element, and turn it off or whatever, or change this thing around. And that, that spontaneity of like having to make something really incredible in front of people, and that like desire of that's what the goal is, like this has to be like incredible, makes you come up with things which you would have never thought of. because originally your mind is thinking like, oh, I'm gonna, do something which is like la 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 la, and then you're like, this is terrible, and then so you've got to change that into like totally destroy it and have it come out of this be something really beautiful and awesome, and that it's like, and that's, I even really enjoy like writing music that way, where you've kind of like, you've worked for hours and you're kind of like out of your head in some sort of way where, you're sort of past the point of like, that was probably all the good ideas that I had for the day or something, and then all of a sudden, sometimes there's these ideas that just start coming one after the other, which come, it's like some alien space beam coming down and telling you these ideas for these songs that, are like not even coming from you or something. It's sort of like almost feeding off either your tiredness or like reflections of your day in some sort of way. Sometimes you're like trailing off in your mind about some really shitty thing that happened or something, and that translates, and that's like, I don't know, it's something which you never would have planned, I think, is often like the best stuff.
I usually, like they said, there's no rules. You can't keep going to the same spot because you kind of wear out that idea and it becomes not creative anymore. But for me, it's like it's about the mood. Like if I'm really in the mood or something, or I'm sort of, I can come up with a lot of good ideas, in a row. If I'm kind of like tired or something, then usually it's just like, I just be kind of flogging a dead horse. There's no rule to that, but and I also like to have an idea. Like I have a list of ideas on my phone that if I'm walking around, I hope I'll get an idea or something. And I like to grab those ideas and maybe try 3 or 4 of them in a song, because I find that having an idea, more often than not for me, works out better than not having an idea. It's like it's at least I've got like a seed or something, to grow from, and then maybe that idea will be completely different. It usually is by the end of it. That original idea is just transformed to something else. And I also like the idea of being able to write a song from start to end in one go, like with lyrics and everything. I've kind of over the last, 7 or 8 years, kind of really strived for that goal, because I've kind of come to the conclusion, is that not the best way? Because surely you want to write the best songs you can in the shortest amount of time you can, just like boom, there it is, done, you know what I mean? Rather than slogging away for months on something. I mean, that's cool too, but I just really like the idea of the spontaneity and the organicness of just coming up.
And also a lot of times I feel like what he's saying, that's like so pure. Yeah. It's like you're in this moment of having this idea for this song, and that's when you're actually feeling those feelings, and that's when you're actually, in that place when you're embracing, and that's when you're having this pure emotion. Yeah. And that time that you're recording it, that first time, you're exactly in that headspace where, you're feeling your heart broken or whatever it is, and that's, as sometimes you kind of go back from these things, and you kind of can't write anything more true or more pure than what that was to feel it at that moment. And
I was going to say that we all kind of have significantly different ways of approaching like those creative processes too, which I in a way sort of wish that I had the mind to think like, oh, I want to write out an idea and put it, but at the moment that I think about an idea to put into a song, it just kind of, to me, and maybe this is just my perspective, but it just doesn't come out as genuine. And maybe because I'm like thinking about too hard, I want it to be objective and I want it to be something that like people can relate with. But the stuff that like I can really sing about is more like personal things, or how I really feel about certain situations, whether it be personal or political, or anything that is really sort of just significant in my life that moment. And I but it's also like I really enjoy being around these guys and trying to sort of use and integrate all of those different approaches, because it's it all makes sense. It's just, it's cool to have different processes.
I quite often come up with the song title first as well. That's the very first thing I come up with. Because I work, on my computer and you've got to save it or something. So I try to come up with the coolest song title I can. I might not stay that title, but it's, like, what sounds cool, Oh.
Shit.
For me, it's like when I stop working on it. Honestly, because it's like I keep chipping away, and if I'm not happy with it, I'll keep chipping away on it, and then when it sounds like I want it to sound, then I stop working on it and it's done. Or sometimes it just never gets to where sometimes it's just like, okay, this song was never good from the start, and I've tried my best, and I'm going to let it go and move on to the next. But
yeah, I mean, sometimes you even think that a song is done, and then you'll share it with somebody, and you're like, gosh, this is totally not done, So it kind of can change, but it's like, if you don't want to work on a song, it's like, why bother spending your time to it? So it's, as long as it's like kind of maintains your excitement, and if you're even done with being excited with a song, by the time you finish it, it's like, those songs never get released, really. It's like we've got hundreds of songs where it's like never went on anything because maybe we were excited about it, but the time it reaches to that point, it's just kind of like, well, whatever, or something. So what's the point? It's like, I don't think there's any reason to release any material that you don't really love.
Okay. It's hard to love. I think it's really hard to love this song too. At least for me, it's very hard. And I'll share some songs that I've written with people, and maybe just assume and expect criticism from it. And I'll receive the criticism, and it will be good criticism. But like for some reason, I just get so scared to approach it again. Like, oh no, it's too intense. Like I wanted it to be what it was. And now I have to rethink it, and it's
good sharing it. I find taking a song pretty much as far as you can, and then having someone that you trust listen to it with you in the room. Mm-hmm. It makes you listen to it a little bit differently, and just kind of, I still need to work on that a little bit, and that little bit.
Yeah.
Or throw the song away.
Yeah, or throw the song away.
For me, usually music. They come together at the same time, but usually it's like I'm just kind of making sounds as I'm writing the song. Or sometimes I have the song title and I put the word in there or something like that, but usually I'm trying to just kind of make sounds because I think it's a little bit like Bob Dylan, how the words he chose sounded good, where the vowels were and all that kind of stuff. And I think that can be really cool for a song, the rhythmicness of it, the way you put the P's and the B's and whatever and stuff like that. And I listen back and I pick out a couple of words that I can hear in there, and then it just kind of starts to form into an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think often it's the music, but sometimes it's the lyrics, sometimes you have this idea that kind of makes some sort of sense, and you can kind of like make it work into the way. I mean, that doesn't happen as often because a lot of times you'll have some strong idea of what the lyrics should be without a song, and it doesn't quite, fit in with the format or something. And sometimes that's kind of interesting though too, and it makes you even kind of like stretch the music into some place that's kind of like interesting or unplanned. And I think that's even a really like important part about music is sometimes, just taking some sort of, rhythm or a chord progression or something and kind of like jarring it in some sort of way. And sometimes having something not fit originally can actually that kind of push you to that place where something does fit, and that can, sometimes you have to listen to it, but sometimes it can be really cool.
Yeah, when we do those like 4-track things, whether it be at our studio or in the crowd, and we record them and listen back, and say I'm singing or Oliver's singing or anything, we kind of like we've been doing something lately. Like I've been trying to rewrite the lyrics and rewrite the structure and all that, but then we just come back to to the original of it and think like, oh wow, that was actually a whole lot better. And so I'm like, okay, how can I like write the lyrics that sound exactly like what I said, which is, you know, kind of like, that's a little bit difficult.
It's difficult, but it can be done for sure.
Yeah. Or you just ad lib. Like, I'm a huge fan of Cockatoo Twins, Elizabeth Fraser, and I think a lot of her lyrics aren't real lyrics, or you know, like I think a lot of people have like tried to look up the lyrics, and there's a lot of question marks.
I make up words now and then, just because it sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's an extreme contradiction or something, and that's like on purpose, you know, for what's happening. But you know, it just really depends. It's like what's appropriate, you know, what makes sense for the individual song. It's like each song is this whole universe of, you know, the sound and the lyrics and everything, and you know, you're in control of whatever you want all of these elements and everything to be. So, you know, sometimes that's really interesting how there's like the duality, and that plays into what you're talking about, you know, you really love someone and you're destroying something at the same time or something. And, you know, that can be, you know, what's sort of the point or something. I think that, you know, those things, you know, when the music really helps you translate what the lyrics are, then that's kind of when you've done right by the whole thing.
Because you're wanting to convey to the listener the exact feeling that you have or that you want to convey, and to have the music kind of fit with the lyrics a little bit like that conveys that message better. You know, I think a lot of the best songs are the ones where everyone can just, you know, spot on get that vibe. You know,
I mean, I think also though it's like, you know, there's something about things being kind of like ambiguous and sort of hard to understand in some kinds of ways, and that can make like the experience be more personal to the listener, and where they're using their own imagination. If they can't quite tell what's going on with the lyrics, or maybe understand a little bit of it, and they can't quite tell what is even these sounds coming out, like is it a chainsaw being thrown into a blender, or is it someone's car on a rocket ship, or whatever it is, you know, that can be like their own personal thing, you know, and sometimes that connects even more, where there's this element of imagination that kind of comes into play. And you know, I really love that about a lot of music, where I can't understand exactly what the lyrics are, and it just kind of gives me this feeling, you know. And some, you know, I love lyrics, and I also, you know, don't like lyrics in a lot of music and stuff too, and like a lot of instrumental music. And, you know, it really just kind of depends on your mood and what you're, you know, wanting to hear and what's appropriate for where you are, you know, like if you're riding on a train by yourself and listening to your headphones, or if you're at a party, like that's two totally different kinds of things, you know, which two totally different types of music are appropriate. So, you know, I really just love exploring all those different kinds of avenues and directions and whatever you can possibly do, and it's fun to experiment and try out all sorts of different things. And you know, sometimes when those things are successful, then that, or you personally feel they are, you know, that'll make it onto something, rather than you know, if you don't feel that it is. And so you know, there's kind of almost no rhyme and reason, and a lot of times, you know, you even just want to hear whatever that next thing is, or what's something else that can be, you know, you have certain songs which are maybe sentimental to you, but you always want to be blown away by something new and exciting. And so, you know, that is, you know, part of what's awesome, is that next mysterious sound or feeling that you've never heard before. And what kind of keeps like music, and the fact that there's so many different interesting bands, you know, makes it really just exciting and lovely to be a part of all of that.
Yeah, I think also just coming from the point of view of, you know, at least for me, and I think it is really challenging for, you know, anyone who's playing music, or anyone who like watches bands play and thinks like, oh man, they're so cool, how can I make the coolest song ever, you know, but you're not actually thinking about like where that emotion comes from, or what is actually trying to be conveyed from, and it's just, it's hard to separate, you know, the I guess the intention, rather like as opposed to the, you know, the reputation. And so I think that is something that I'm learning to keep in mind, and I think a lot of people sort of struggle with, and that I've like worked with a lot of bands who have, especially, I mean, I hate to talk down on my hometown, but Los Angeles was a really big place where there was a lot of like, let's make this sound like Talking Heads, or let's make this, and it just felt to me like it was disingenuous to the actual, process of like, let's just get really personal, but like use our experience as, musicians or artists or whatever to, make something that's like a little more us than that, or so I mean, then again, not to say Talking Heads and having all those influences isn't important. It's crucial. Like, we all listen to music endlessly, and obviously have influences from different bands and different artists and people who moved us in certain ways, but how do you make it so that it's not like you're trying to be, you're trying to sound just like this and that, or you're, trying to like write a cool, I mean, you want it to be cool, of course, but like you also just want it to be like good and like make sense for people. Maybe that stuff doesn't, I don't know. I guess I have to talk to more bands and musicians to see how like.
Sure. Yeah.
For me, like it's more like if I'm having to make music videos or something like that, I'll kind of listen to the lyrics or listen to the song and not even thinking about the video so much, but then an idea will pop into my head and I'll maybe turn it into a music video or something like that. It's not so much live.
I mean, a lot of times when I'm thinking about visual things when we're playing live or something, it almost is like the gateway, or like it's like a step away from when it's like absolutely pure and incredible. And there, you reach this, you're kind of like, sometimes you'll start to have these visions and kind of ideas about crazy things about, whatever, people's heads being fried by laser beams or something. And then the ultimate goal is really not being able to like see or kind of hear or anything, or like really being connected or aware to what that stuff is, and just kind of be in touch with what this moment is. And that happens at times. It's kind of like the ultimate goal in some ways of live performance, at least I feel like. I mean, as well as like kind of recording and stuff like that too. It's like sometimes you're kind of just like, you just feel so natural and so out of your body and everything like that, and just like in tune with some sort of like rhythms and sound and whatever. You really can't even explain it in some kind of way, and that's like the ultimate thing. But those visuals, at least for me, sometimes I'll like, you almost have to like push them out of your head, like, get out of here, werewolf, like, here we go.
I bring them in.
That thing, but it's like, I mean, maybe I enjoy that or something, but it's like, that's, I'm a little bit too aware at that moment.
It sucks sometimes. I mean, I think about this because when I'm performing or singing, like when I feel something, I'm trying to convey it with my body or with my voice. It's very much like a visceral moment of, not only what's going on in the crowd or with our lights or with the fog or strobe or anything, because a lot of the time it feels like you're in this, the afterlife, or like you're just about to die and you're going on edge. And that to me is kind of like a really crazy, I don't know, maybe hallucinatory feeling. And I have these very personal like visuals, when I'm playing or singing a song where I'm sort of I'm thinking about things that like the lyrics or my conviction with the music really is trying to portray, like, the pain and the suffering that comes with loss or like sadness or grief. Like it's such a cathartic thing and energy for me, at least, to visualize something while playing and performing, and also to have like things going on where you're like, fuck, like I'm just doing this really hard right now, and it's beautiful. It's a really fun thing. It's overwhelming at times, but you know, it's just like there is no, like we were saying earlier, there is no other feeling. There is no other way to describe it.
One word.
One word answer. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I do love that kind of thing where it's like, it's almost like a pure emotion or a pure kind of feeling, which isn't like, you know, specifically. I mean, I love like whatever, some kinds of, you know, political punk music or something like that. But what I really love is something which is like taps into like, you know, just one of those pure emotions where it's just like pure love or pure sorrow or, you know, something where, and it really kind of makes you feel that, like whether you see like a painting or you're reading a book and you're bawling your eyes out or something, it's like, and when it feels truly kind of honest, you know, about that kind of thing. Like sometimes, you know, there's maybe like little bits of trickery in some kinds of things or something, but, you know.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Honesty and
Truth.
kind of, yeah, truth. In some
Which is so hard to find.
Because that will be conveyed throughout time. If everyone's died and a new set of people are listening to it, they'll hear that. You know, you can see through the bullshit, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.